Welcome to Soul Searching Space, a space to remember who you truly are, who you came here to be, and what you came here to do. To be crystal clear, going from black and white thinking to full color HD, working from the inside out, reclaiming your power, waking up to your inherent wholeness, aligning soul, heart, mind, and body. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. We are continuing the conversations of working from the inside out. If you haven't tuned into the previous episodes in this series, I invite you to listen as it builds on top of each other. As we explored in the previous episode, that the quality of the emotional signal the heart sends to the brain determines what kind of chemicals are released into our bodies. When we feel feelings and emotions that makes us more physical, feelings like shame, guilt, anger, hate, jealousy, resentment, rage, the heart sends a signal to the brain that mirrors our feelings. When we get stressed, we are producing cortisol and adrenaline, and we step back in time in our brain. We go to more primitive parts of the brain. The more scared we are, the more primitive we go. When we get scared, we become negative, and it's safer to be negative because we need to focus on survival. We have an approach system and a withdrawal system, or a pleasure system and a pain system. The approach system triggers positive emotions and makes you want to move towards certain things. The withdrawing system, which triggers negative emotions, makes you want to pull back and avoid certain things. And both are active all the time in different ratios. Both are monitoring the environment, and the two systems can produce opposing motives at the same time. For instance, you want to talk to a stranger, but you find yourself suddenly paralyzed when you approach that person. The withdrawal system can quickly overtake the slower and generally weaker approach system. As for the brain, it is always about safety, security, and survival. What is familiar is safe. Therefore, a neural shortcut is an advantage, and our brain responds to patterns that in the past were associated with danger and shifts the entire brain over to withdrawal mode. To the brain, bad is stronger and faster than good. When the stress response kicks in, our brain infuses our bodies with the chemistry needed to respond quickly and powerfully to the threat. It's all about survival. Such high levels of stress chemicals can help us become superhuman when needed, and we can do things which can help save lives, for instance, with the extra human strength. However, the stress response is designed to be temporary and brief. The stress shuts down the release of other chemicals that support important functions in our body, such as the rest and digest, immunity, and more. Unfortunately, our modern, fast-paced life can cause our bodies to feel that we are in a constant state of never-ending stress. The survival-based thoughts we have creates feelings of frustration, resentment, anger, hurt, upset, shame, guilt, fear, depression, anxiety, and more. The challenge is, in survival mode, our focus is on our bodies, time, people, things, places, and more. In stress mode, our outer world appears to be more real than the inner world. When we don't learn to release this kind of stress, we find ourselves in this survival mode and all the consequences that come with it. Often people become so caught up in these feelings that they try to analyze their challenges from within the familiar feelings, which only creates more thoughts which are over-focused on survival. Unfortunately, most of us have not been taught how to change and how to think. What we end up doing is thinking, how can I make this feeling go away? We find ways to distract ourselves from the uncomfortable feelings and emotions. When the same people and things in our lives create the same emotions and the feelings we are trying to make go away no longer changes, we look for new people and things or try to go to new places in an attempt to change how we feel emotionally. If we can't numb the feelings and emotions we try to avoid, we continue until we find something that makes this feeling go away. We do all kinds of things like accumulating new things, and when that wears off and stop working, we look for bigger things, and our avoidance strategy becomes an emotional addiction. What we own ends up owning us. We think that this external thing will produce an internal change and make us feel better. Until the pain goes away, we may gamble, shop, binge, stay up late playing video games, keep scrolling on social media, have an affair, overeat, and more. Over time, we become addicted to something in order to ease the pain we live by on a daily basis. And the challenge is that we need a little bit more the next time because it takes more to produce the same kick, eventually leading to as if we cannot find joy in the simplest things. And often all of this happens subconsciously, and an emotion or a group of emotions are actually driving our behaviors. We become emotionally addicted because the feelings and emotions are safe because they are familiar. When safety is the brain's main priority, you are thinking in the past and trying to predict the next moment based on the past. And your brain can't process the present moment. Your brain is focused on survival, preoccupied with possible worst-case scenarios. When everything feels like a crisis, your brain makes survival the priority. It's not a time for learning, growing, and evolving. It's time for survival and emergency. That's why we do the work behind the scenes. The emotions we are dealing with and the thoughts we are overanalyzing keep us connected to the past, the familiar, and the known. That is why we want to practice making the familiar unfamiliar and the unfamiliar familiar. Emotions such as resentment, anger, hurt, upset, shame, guilt, suffering, judgment, and more make us feel more physical because they carry a frequency that is slower and more material and physical. And the more elevated emotions such as love, joy, and gratitude are higher in frequency. And as a result, they are more energy-like and less physical and less material. Until the body is instructed otherwise, it's going to continue expressing those programs of resentment, anger, hurt, upset, shame, guilt, jealousy, anxiety, and more. What is your chemical signature? What are your go-to emotions? Which feelings and emotions are you comfortable with? Which feelings and emotions are you uncomfortable with? What is consciously or subconsciously signaling your body to produce stress hormones? Can you observe your emotional self? Can you recognize the emotional self that lives in survival mode? What does your emotional home feel like? What does your emotional body look like? What have you been subconsciously or consciously devoted to feeling for years? Is it negativity, positivity, happy, unhappy, love, hate? Remember that we are all being and doing the best we can with the level of awareness we have, and there is no right or wrong. We need all ways of being and doing. The question is if you are enjoying who you are being and what you are doing. Which states of being do you not have to think about because you've conditioned yourself for years to be this way? Where is your ability to tolerate discomfort emotionally no longer serving the kind of life you want to live? Are you willing to have a mature, loving relationship on your own terms versus being in a relationship that is driven by the patterns of your lineage and what you were taught when you were a child? Which emotional state of being do you want to be unfamiliar, and which emotional state of being do you want to be familiar? Is there a gap between the way you appear and who you really are? What emotional states are you addicted to? Are you addicted to how you want other people to see you? Which is more important to you, who you really are or how you appear? Are you stuck in a particular emotion? How much of your energy is tied up to resentment, anger, hurt, upset, shame, guilt, related to people and experiences from your past? Is there a feeling or emotion that you experience over and over again? Is there a feeling or emotion that you struggle with? Which thoughts are connected to a feeling and which feelings are connected to a thought? What habit is influenced by your particular emotional addiction? If we live in this high stress mode of chaotic brain function for extended periods, we are affected. And since everything is connected to everything, it will affect our bodies, our lives, our relationships, and more in some ways. we can learn to relieve the stress in a healthy way. One of the biggest things is cultivating a sense of safety for yourself. Safety, grounding, security, these are all interchangeable words. One of the easiest and potent ways to do this is through breath work. How can you cultivate some sort of practice where you are pouring into yourself? What could be a way of regulating your nervous system that doesn't necessarily look expensive or time-consuming for you? Your challenges will never be resolved by analyzing them while you are still caught up in the emotions of the past. Looking at the experiences or reliving the event that created the challenge in the first place will only bring up the old emotions and a reason to feel the same way. With our nervous system, emotions are just feelings. They're just feedback. They're not good or bad, right or wrong. There are high frequency emotions and low frequency emotions. But the thing you want to do is always bring a sense of compassion to yourself, that love, compassion, and acceptance that you might not have been met with when you were younger. A lot of the time, our nervous system gets activated because there is a wounded inner child within us who just wants to be seen, loved, validated, accepted. And when, quote unquote, people are doing things to us or not considerate of us, it activates that part of us that were not seen, loved, validated, accepted when we were younger. Before you choose to respond, bringing in breath is a huge way to help regulate your nervous system. Remember that doing the work to rebalance our nervous system is necessary before we can truly change our deep-rooted beliefs. Just as the way our hearts send our brains the signals of chaos when we feel negative emotions, positive emotions such as love, joy, appreciation, gratitude, and compassion, the brain releases a very different kind of chemistry into the body. When we feel a sense of well-being, the level of stress hormones in our body decreases. And when the mind stays out of the way, the body can do its job. This shift can happen quickly. Practice makes progress. In each and every moment, you have a new opportunity. Did something resonate with you? Who are you going to be, and what are you going to do about it? Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your presence. I look forward to being with you again. I am sending you so much love, and until next time, may you remember that the stress response is designed to be temporary and brief.